I'm LaDonna, 38, standing by the gift table at my cousin's wedding, clutching a warm champagne flute, while the family I've bailed out a dozen times pretends I don't exist. My mother just threw her head back, laughing, her back pointedly turned in my direction. My father made eye contact for a split second, then looked away. My sister, the perpetual damsel in distress, is taking endless selfies with the bride. Meanwhile, I'm the stranger at a family gathering I helped pay for. The only person who sees the rot underneath the expensive flowers. I don't make a scene. I don't say a word. I simply place my untouched glass on the table, turn around, and walk out of the ballroom into the sweltering Phoenix night. My phone buzzes before I even reach the parking lot. A call from my mother. I decline it. A text immediately follows. Where are you going? The cake cutting is in 10 minutes. I don't reply. I just hold down her name in my contacts list and press block. It's a small, quiet act, but it feels like a tectonic shift. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. And hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. Meanwhile, I'm the stranger at a family gathering I helped pay for. The only person who sees the rot underneath the expensive flowers. I don't make a scene. I don't say a word. I simply place my untouched glass on the table, turn around, and walk out of the ballroom into the sweltering Phoenix night. My phone buzzes before I even reach the parking lot. A call from my mother. I decline it. A text immediately follows. Where are you going? The cake cutting is in 10 minutes. I don't reply. I just hold down her name in my contacts list and press block. It's a small, quiet act, but it feels like a tectonic shift. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. And hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. There's a unique kind of exhaustion that comes from being the designated fixer. You don't even realize you're carrying the weight until you finally decide to set it down. My name is LaDonna. For my entire adult life, I had been the family's emergency fund, their emotional support animal, and their get-out-of-jail-free card. All rolled into one. I'm a freelance graphic designer, and I work hard for my money. Every dollar I saved was a dollar they saw as available. I paid for my sister Brianna's holistic life coach certification when she decided she was done with traditional work. I gave my parents $20,000 for a new roof, which somehow turned into a 2-week Hawaiian vacation. I even paid off my father's car loan after one of his can't-miss investment ideas inevitably missed. They never asked. They informed. They'd call with a crisis, a manufactured deadline, and a tone that suggested I was their only hope. And like an idiot, I always bought it. I thought that's what love was. I was so wrong. The final straw wasn't some grand betrayal. It was the 1,000 little cuts. It was paying for the bride's flight to her own bachelorette party, only to be treated like a ghost at her wedding. It was watching them toast to family, with champagne I knew was funded by my last invoice. In that moment, watching them perform their happy family charade. I didn't just get angry. I got keyed. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. And hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had to completely reimagine your past. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. The backlash for my quiet exit began the next morning. It started with Brianna. A message popped up on my Instagram from her. Mom is a wreck. She thinks you hate her. You really embarrassed everyone by storming out of the wedding like that? The manipulation was so lazy, so transparent. I didn't block her. I just restricted her account, sending her messages into a void where I'd never have to see them. My new boundary was a silent, digital wall. Then came the family group chat, which I'd forgotten to leave. My aunt posted a photo of the happy couple cutting the cake. My mother's comment appeared beneath it. So wonderful to be surrounded by family who truly values these precious moments. Some people just don't understand loyalty. I read the comment and felt a strange sense of calm. They were proving my point for me. The performance reached its crescendo that afternoon when my mother posted a dramatic, filtered quote on her Facebook page. It read, "You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself." The irony was breathtaking. She saw herself as the empty cup, the long-suffering matriarch. She had no idea that she and the rest of them were the ones who had been draining me dry for 2 decades. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below. And hit that like and subscribe button. If you've ever had to keep a life-changing secret, you'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. I thought the conflict would remain in the shallow end of the pool, emotional blackmail and passive-aggressive social media jabs. I was wrong. The real escalation came 3 days later, with an email that made my blood run cold. It was from my biggest client, a tech startup that accounted for nearly half of my income. Her name was Sarah, and her tone was usually warm and friendly. This email was different. It was formal, sterile, and terrifying. La Donna. It began, "We received a troubling anonymous call this morning. The person alleged that you are struggling with a severe substance abuse problem that is affecting your work. They claimed you've been missing deadlines and are professionally unreliable." My heart hammered against my ribs. I hadn't missed a single deadline. Ever. Sarah continued, "Obviously, we value our relationship, but we have to take this seriously. We need to schedule a call to discuss the future of our contract." The air left my lungs in a sickening rush. I knew, with a certainty that settled like ice in my gut, who had made that call. This was their response to being cut off. This was their leverage. They weren't just trying to guilt me anymore. They were trying to destroy my entire career, to force me back into line. They had crossed a line from which there was no return. The family I thought I had was a fiction. In its place stood a group of strangers willing to burn my life to the ground for their own convenience. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had to face people who betrayed you. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. That night, simmering in a toxic brew of fury and fear, I did something I should have done a decade ago. I launched a complete financial audit of my life. The malicious call wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of war. It shoved me past grief and straight into a cold, clinical need for facts. I spent hours online, pulling credit reports, downloading bank statements, and untangling the web of financial codependence I had allowed to fester for years. And that's when I found it. A business loan, taken out 3 months prior, with a bank I had never used. My name and social security number were on the application. The loan was for $25,000, and the recipient was listed as the Brianna Creative Agency. I scrolled through the loan documents, my breath catching in my throat. The payments were already 60 days delinquent, destroying the credit score I had worked so hard to build. Every perfectly filtered Instagram post Brianna made about being a number girl boss, every selfie captioned, "Building my empire," was funded by a fraudulent loan taken out in my name. A chilling clarity washed over me, sharp and absolute. This was no longer a family dispute about hurt feelings or boundaries. This was bank fraud. This was a felony, and they had just handed me the gun, the ammunition, and a signed confession. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever had your entire reality shattered in an instant. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. The time for emotional reactions was over. My actions from that point on were deliberate, but precise, and cold. First, I called Sarah. My client, I told her the entire truth. From the wedding, to the financial dependency, to the malicious call, I finished by telling her I understood if she needed to terminate our contract. There was a pause, and then she said, La donna. I'm so sorry. Of course we're not terminating your contract. Let me know what you need. Her grace was a lifeline in a sea of betrayal. Second, I filed a detailed police report, citing identity theft and bank fraud. Third, I froze my credit with all 3 major bureaus. Then, I sat down at my desk and began to write. I crafted a post for my private Facebook page, the one connected to our entire extended family, old neighbors, and community friends. I was strategic. I didn't use a single name. I didn't have to. I simply laid out a precise, emotionless timeline of events. I started with the date of the wedding, and my silent departure. I followed it with the manipulative texts and the passive-aggressive posts from my mother. Then I detailed the anonymous, malicious call to my largest client, designed to ruin my career. I finished with the discovery of the fraudulent $25,000 loan taken out in my name. And then, I attached the receipts. I posted screenshots, side by side. My mother's Facebook post about loyalty next to a redacted copy of the email from my client, and the final, brutal piece of evidence, a redacted copy of the loan statement showing the delinquent balance under the Brianna Creative Agency. I hit post. The effect wasn't gradual. It was a bomb detonating in the quiet, manicured garden of my family's public image. The post triggered an immediate flood of revelations. An uncle messaged me, revealing my father had borrowed $5,000 from him for a medical emergency and never paid him back. A former neighbor commented, questioning a suspicious fundraiser my parents had run a few years ago for emergency home repairs that never seemed to happen. The facade didn't just crack. It disintegrated in real time as a clear and undeniable pattern of deceit was exposed for everyone to see. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in a comment below. And hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever experienced a reunion that changed everything. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. The consequences were swift and brutal. The police detective assigned to my fraud case called Brianna in for questioning. Faced with undeniable evidence, she confessed immediately. My father's brother, the uncle, he'd scammed out of $5,000, threatened legal action of his own. The social shrapnel from my post was devastating to their carefully curated image. My mother called me, sobbing, not to apologize, but to demand I take the post down. You're ruining this family, she shrieked. There is no family, I said calmly, and hung up. A week later, my lawyer informed me that Brianna had accepted a plea deal to avoid a trial, 5 years of probation, and full restitution of the $25,000. The demands for money stopped completely. The phone calls and texts went silent. Within 3 months, their world, which had been propped up on my income and my credit for so long, imploded. Without my financial safety net, my parents had to sell their house and move into a small rental. Brianna, now with a criminal record, had to get a real job, working retail at the mall. The beautiful sound of silence filled my life. My world became peaceful. It revolved around my work, my real friends. And my newfound freedom? With the money, I was no longer hemorrhaging. I paid off my own mortgage and started an investment account for my retirement. My future was finally my own. 6 months later, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a single sentence was scrawled in my mother's handwriting. I hope you're happy now that you've destroyed your family. I felt no anger. No sadness. No guilt. I walked to my kitchen shredder and fed it the letter. I didn't destroy a family. I just stopped being the sole foundation holding up a rotten building, and when it finally collapsed under the weight of its own decay, I was finally free. The greatest lesson I learned is that true family doesn't come with a price tag, and it's more than okay to foreclose on the people who think you're their personal bank